Well, hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Not Just Crew. I'm on my own today. Simon's busy working, although he did do a show very early this morning. Yeah, quite amazing that. Coming up shortly will be Paul Tizzard talking about the fear of broadcasting, where he actually interviewed both Simon and I. So yeah, that'll be coming up shortly. We had quite an amazing weekend, Tara Poncho and myself. I went to the Queen Victoria Hospital in East Grinstead, where the Wingman bus will be made an appearance. Also, Sarah Skelton and her team put on this most amazing dance. I can never pronounce it properly, called Jerusalem, something like that. Anyway, that's going to be coming up. But what made this even more interesting is we had the help of the guys from the Film Co. Now, that was started by Nick Williams, who's a ex-cabin crew member, pretty much made redundant, went into filming, and he's based in Crawley now and taking on some of the most amazing projects. And we're going to be interviewing him later in the month. But I would like to say a special thank you for Madeline Hawkey and Liam Tui, who came down, gave their time to help us make this most amazing film that you'll be able to see later in the month. Also, and this was a real wow moment, towards the end of the filming, Not Just Crew were presented with the most amazing cake made by Lauren Kinnan, and well, there's not much left. There's sort of that was what they put on there, but yeah, sadly that cake is now in the past tense, but it was amazing, and thank you all so much for that. Anyway, going on to today's show, Paul Tizzard. Interesting episode for us. This was initially made as a audio podcast, but he happened to film it at the same time. Now, we thought it'd be interesting for you guys to see us be interviewed by Paul Tizzard, not just crew presenter, but also a total professional and runs his own company called Lovefly. Now, the subject was fear, and for this one, he concentrated on the fear of broadcasting. As you know, this is a subject quite new for Simon and I. When this lockdown started, I most certainly never expected to be a presenter, and it was for the nerves, but it's been so busy. But yeah, I did learn a fair bit about myself. What I did take away from it is, firstly, never be interviewed first thing in the morning, and secondly, don't be all dressed up and ready to go to a Johnny Vegas lookalike competition, which you'll see shortly. But if you can get past that, listen to the chat. It was quite interesting. Hopefully Simon learned a fair bit. In fact, especially, let's hope Simon did learn a fair bit of that. So yeah, have a watch, and I'll hand you over to Paul.
So welcome to the Lovefly podcast. I'm Paul Tizzard, fear flying coach for 25 years. And today I'm joined by two extraordinary fellows who've had an amazing story to tell, both crew, ex-crew, etc., but have set up this phenomenal Facebook group, amongst other things, which is has something like 10,000 plus members on it now, which is phenomenal. So today we're going to be talking about that journey and also some stories about how they dealt with their own fears that will be able to help you as nervous flyers. So welcome, chaps.
Good afternoon. How are you doing, Paul?
Very good, very good. Yeah, so your story so far has been unbelievable, like in less than a year to get to 10,000 members. And I'm curious what personal fear challenges you had to overcome to do that. And just, yeah, so just tell us about your story.
Go for it.
Well, yeah, okay, cheers. Yeah, Paul, it really was the fear, actually, and I knew I always wanted to put some kind of podcast together, whether it be visual or audio, and it was terrifying. Now, when lockdown started, as it happens, our sort of former colleague on here, Alex Chisnell, he was putting out a free course on podcasts, and I knew I wanted to do it. But then he set up a competition within his group as to who could publish the first one first. Now, I'm glad to say I did win that, but it was only with a minute and a half trailer. But the fear of actually pressing that publish button, and considering, as I say, this first one was like a minute and a half long, but it took me about 5 minutes to actually press it. And I think the reason of that was exposure, fear of exposing myself to a audience, and so yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. But I did it, and I mean, Simon telling you now, God knows how many programs we've done now, but yeah, it's certainly not a fear anymore. So I think repetition helps initially gets you over that fear, depending, of course, on what it is.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So you kind of recognize that you had this resistance in yourself, and you said 5 minutes before you actually pressed that. What thoughts were going through your head at that moment?
Well, literally, it was, what are people going to think? My parents can listen to me on here, which should be sort of a sense of pride, but all of a sudden, you are putting yourself out for sort of public ridicule, or, I mean, they weren't actually, as it happened, everyone was very, very supportive, hence the growth of the group. But yeah, it was the initial one of, oh my God, this is out on the digital platform now. If someone wants to record it, I've lost all control over this. So yeah, it was a big fear, but I'm still glad I did it.
Yeah, I think so. For me, the interesting thing about that particular very quick story is that you recognize that there's some resistance, and there's a lot of things going on there, like I'm now going to be sort of exposed to the public, which means that people can find me. And then you have to overcome all those sort of like those negative limiting thoughts. You've had to do all of that just to get it out there. And then you know that your family and everyone is going to be listening to it, which should be a source of support. But actually, that's even more scary, perhaps.
Well, if I could just jump in there, sorry. Basically, I'm kind of the very opposite to the way that Trev was feeling about. Because Trevor, I was Trevor's first interview when he created the Not Just Group community. So I was his first story, basically, life after flying, what I was doing now, working for the ambulance service. I was his first guest, which was easy because obviously he was asking the questions, I was telling the story. But I remember when Trevor asked us shortly after that to do a piece on mental health and kind of like tell people about my story, then that was quite daunting. That was worrying for me because it took us a couple of days to kind of think what I wanted to say and to revisit certain things that had happened. And a bit like yourself, Trev, it took us a while to kind of, I was doing videos, I was deleting them, I was doing another video, I was deleting them, and then I thought, you know what, to pop with all of that, I'm just gonna deliver it, I'm gonna put it out there, one shot, took about 40 minutes. Whatever I say, I don't even know what's coming in my mouth half the time. I just thought, whatever I say, if it's of interest and any use to anybody, then there you go. If nobody likes it, then nobody likes it. I just stopped myself from overthinking and worrying too much about what I was going to say. Out it came, and I've kind of like had that mentality ever since. You're probably picking that up when you've been watching the shows. There's no script. There's just I kind of like say how I feel on the day. Like my emotions kind of like run away with us, and I've got no control over my mouth basically. So, but it's all good.
Well, you two both seem fearless to me, so that's a surprise to me that you had those doubts that went through your mind. Because when I watch you do, so these guys with their 10,000 member group hold a show every week as a minimum, plus lots of other things that they do. And they interview people, all sorts of people, and get them to share their story about things that they've done, having to face redundancy and things like that, which is up there with in terms of things that people fear a lot, which is losing your income because it affects your security, your status, everything, doesn't it? So it's a big deal for people, and these guys are putting their time in to help them. And so when I watch you, I just think, crikey, you look fearless. You look like nothing's going to phase you at all.
Yeah, well, I think for me, I think for me, the fear's actually changed. The fear is not appearing in front of camera, because I think hopefully Simon and I bounce quite well off each other. And I think we've got a second sense of what each other's thinking. Sometimes the fear for me now is producing the content that people actually want to see. So the fear's actually developed into something else. As appearing on camera, actually, one of the biggest tips I ever got was change the word fear that you feel into the word excitement. Because apparently, and you'll know more about this, Paul, apparently your subconscious can't register the difference between the two. So if you tell yourself you're excited rather than fear, that can sometimes help. But yeah, fear's different. It's moved along, but even that sort of gradually going now. Experience and repetition, I think, are the biggest defeaters of fear.
I think there's something for me there, Trev, that you've talked about. So there's this perfectionist thing. So you mentioned now working on the actual production side of it, then you feel like it has to be sort of flawless, and so we hold ourselves to some sort of perfect record, which means, you know, and a lot of people have fear, think, well, I've got to be perfect, I've got to be completely calm, I've got to be completely okay with it, everything's going to be perfect and great. So you've got that going on, but also you've found yourself a strategy that helps you. So using that one about saying the body interprets the signals, you decide what they are. I like that, and yes, I do use that one sometimes. I think it's a great little method that was helpful for people. Simon, you look like you're going to say something really profound.
No, it's not at all. But like, I totally agree with you, Trev. It's more excitement than fear, and the more and more that we do within our group, because our group is supportive, inspiring, and kind of like to kind of like hold people close to us and guide them through like what's been difficult times over this last year. That's why we do these shows every Monday, to bring on a guest who have finished their flying career, or maybe they're still doing it, but they're doing many other things, just to show our community that there is other things out there, and it's not the end of the world. So, since they've ceased from flying, and they can do so many other things, and just to recognise how special they are with all those transferable skills that they've obtained throughout their flying career. That's why we're up to 10,000 members now, from the very humble beginnings of just me. But it's more excitement. Everything that we do from now on, for the last 10 months, has been such an exciting journey. We're doing so many different things, and that's what drives us onwards. And we just want to keep providing excitement, more content, more options for our members, not just obviously the shows that we provide every Monday and the Saturday summaries on the Saturday. We're branching off into so many different things. We've done the crew markets to give people the chance to produce their amazing products, to show their entrepreneurial skills. That's been achieved. We did that before Christmas. It's still continuing now with the amazing Gemma Brazier. We've also got the podcasts on Spotify, iTunes. We've also gone into, shall I say it, Trev? Or we're branching out into the audio.
Yeah, very exciting project, yeah.
Yeah, we're producing audio books now with Kaylee Kay, who's got these novels. So we are encouraging Kaylee, and we're going to develop the audio books market as well. We're going into, I'm not going to say the music industry. No, well, it is kind of, but we've got
the edges of.
Yeah, the edges of. We've got an amazing recording artist who is with us and under the Not Just Crew banner. We're going to encourage her to like continue her career in the music industry and like sponsor her. And Trev, what else?
Well, there is loads going on in the background. Every time I think we've come to where we can sort of rest and just carry on, something else opens up, you know. But it's all go back to your original point, fear, and both Simon and I could have the fear of growth, really, but we've decided we're going to adapt to that very quickly and just carry on going.
Let me nab that one, because that is
right.
Fear of success is a thing. So how have you mastered that? How have you kept yourself so open?
By keeping ourselves busy. It's rather than dwelling on we have to get on with this project. We've chatted and we've decided, and this is where it helps having a partner in business as well. I think we give each other the nod and say, yeah, we can do this. We can do this, and half the act of saying we can do this is like a command to our brain to say, yeah, we can do this, as well as confirm it with each other. So Simon said, so much going on, and these projects could have so easily stopped and go, okay, we've reached where we can comfortably need to be now, but we haven't. We've definitely carried on growing.
And I always feel is if you don't give it a go, you're never going to know. That's not well, it does rhyme, but like it's nothing that I've been thinking of all night. If you don't give it a go, you're never going to know. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. What have you got to lose? We haven't got anything to lose, really. A bit of money here and there, but if it's something that you said this before, didn't you, Trev? People go out and spend thousands on golf memberships, don't they? Because they enjoy doing it. We enjoy doing this, so this is what our passion is at the moment. We get so much out of what the group give us back, when they say thank you and they appreciate the work that you're doing. We get so much back from that, which means us want to give more. We want to explore different avenues. And because it's so exciting, and it like I say, if you don't try, then you're never going to know. And I'm nearly 50 now. You guys are well over that mark now, but like I'm just knocking on the door at 50, and I'm thinking, so I've gone 50 years in my life. There's not many years to go, but there's I want to experience much more that life's got to give, and it's just I think I'm more excited now about what we're doing, as well as the job that I'm doing as well. But I'm more excited now in my life, and I've got more like inspiration and kind of like creativity now than what I think I've ever had in my life, because all I've ever done is work for other people. I've done the jobs, I've enjoyed doing it, but now it's kind of like we're the creators of our own destinies. We are the masters of nothing.
Yeah,
but,
so let me interrupt, because there's a challenge. Yeah, so there we go. There's another thing that you've had to overcome, because a lot of people, when they get later 40s, 50s, they don't want to start a business or anything. They might be fed up with the day gig thing, but you're not, but some people are. But the fear of failure, or even fear of success, or whatever it is, or even just fear of starting, that inertia, you've overcome that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really interesting. The fact that you say, if you don't give it a go, you'll never know, which is obviously your new mantra. I think that's really powerful, and that is a really helpful belief pattern that people can use. But there's a question that's occurred to me, right? You've had some phenomenal. I've never seen a Facebook group, for example, grow so big so quickly, and I'm wondering what it is that you two give off, and I know Alex as well, but that breeds such trust.
Yeah, I could certainly start, and I know someone will have something to add for that. Firstly, I think it's because we all come from sort of different social backgrounds and different areas of the country. We listen to everybody. Every view is important. We try not to take ourselves too seriously, but try and encourage and give hope and inspire others as well. We don't claim to have the answers for everything, and I think that's a real importance and distinction. Is we can act as sounding boards. We can say what we think. We know everyone acknowledges it may not necessarily be right, but if not, I think as the group has grown so much, we can usually find somebody who does know the answer, including yourself sometimes, Paul.
Yeah. Wow. Did you have that written down, Trev? That was absolutely.
Script 2.
That was amazing.
And it seems so natural. It's lovely.
Well, I've got my auto cue there, and I've got my director in front of me there. But yeah, no, off the top of my head, which I won't go into.
No, that was very. That was spot on. Well said. It's absolutely. It's I go along with everything like you said there, and it's like you say, we don't know the answers to everything, and we don't profess to know the answers. We're not all knowing. We do hold our hands up, if we need help as well. And like you say, because there's 10,000 people in this group, if people do come to us with any like questions, then we kind of know, you know, we can point them in the right direction now, which is kind of like it's brilliant, you know. Like if we can help, and we started off, if we could help one person out, then we'd be happy. But we've helped like thousands of people out now, and it's just crazy. Even when we're talking about things like that, it's just crazy to think that this is actually happening. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. Does it ever cause you like sort of generalized anxiety thinking about all that responsibility, or does it weigh on you?
Yeah, for me, I'm not sure what Simon is, but for me it does, because I think it is responsible, and it wasn't necessarily a responsibility I wanted. But then again, I'm not dismissive of it. Yeah, it's good, as Simon says. If we can help people, it's fine, as long as it comes with the caveat that, you know, we're not the 100% authority. We can bring people who are, but yeah, does it? Sometimes, let's say, it's quite a fun show to have as well. You know, we're trying to make people laugh, especially in these dark times. And as I sort of said before, we can reflect, we can sort of project, and hopefully entertain. Not necessarily in that order.
The only time that I kind of might get a bit anxious about anything is when anybody gets upset in the group and they're not happy with maybe some content in there. And then there's like, obviously, there's a bit of this dialogue going to and fro. And it kind of can be a bit of problematic there. But like, we've always done really well, Trev, haven't we, to kind of like nip it in the bud and speak to individuals directly. And then it's all like kind of cleared up. Yeah, so only time I get a bit anxious. Yeah.
I mean, that's understandable, because you're carrying a lot with this group, and I know that the people will appreciate what you do for them. And in a way, now you've got to a point where the group is large enough that you can act as sort of not just moderators, but you're like facilitators, aren't you? So you can bring in different things, link people up, act like a catalyst to help people. I just think it's phenomenal. Honestly, when I saw if every week going up hundreds of people at a time, I was like, wow, there's obviously a hunger there, and now you're meeting that need, which I think is phenomenal. So I'm wondering, okay, in what extent do you think your cabin crew backgrounds, current and former, have geared you up to be so successful with this now?
I think it's been of paramount importance, actually, Paul, to deal with each situation differently. You may have, I wouldn't even call them rules. I think you'd call them guidelines that you can sort of think of how you deal with most situations, and then to treat each situation individually. Also, the fear of when I first became a flight service manager, all of a sudden I was standing up in 400 people making PAs. Again, and that's when I tried to turn that fear into sort of excitement. I can either just do a boring PA, and I'm sure Simon did the same as well, or you could make it fun as part of the experience. And again, even that playing, because say business customers don't always want to hear the same as holiday sort of customers. So yeah, learning to read the situation and try and enjoy it, and try and get the other people, your customers, to enjoy it as well. And by taking that responsibility onto me, onto myself, hopefully I could sort of pass it on to others as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make it sound so. It's interesting. So I'll come to you, Simon. Sorry, Trevor.
Oh, sorry.
When you talked about you moved to the position of responsibility, you've had to overcome some fears there, and you talked about, I've got to talk in front of 400 people, and I know that the business class passengers don't want to hear it. They just want to eat and sleep, get to their meetings. And then the assumption being that people in coach, economy, or whatever, don't mind it. They like a bit of spirit and stuff. So you're kind of balancing all of this, plus you're the person that's in charge of that flight. You kind of jumped over it like, I just told myself it was fear, and it's actually not fear, it's excitement. But I wonder if there's a kind of a personal journey that you had to go through to do that.
I think there probably is. But it's where that journey starts, and it's not even so where it starts, it's where you think you want it to be your ultimate destination. And for me, when I joined the airlines, I really thought literally that would be it. I'm where I want to be. But as it's progressed, I've realised I wanted to do other things, and the ability to speak to our first class passengers without being overwhelmed has been a real journey of discovery, really. But again, it wasn't necessarily a journey like I set out on, but it's literally just what happened along the way.
So you had a kind of a vision of where you wanted to be, and you've just moved towards it. And then along the way, you've had to overcome certain things. So, for example, talking to upper class passengers, first class passengers, they see the world very differently to somebody who's perhaps feels like they might be serving them. So there could be some of these assumptions going on in our heads that you've had to deal with all of that.
With Virgin, one of the reasons I wanted to join Virgin is you didn't necessarily have that feeling. I think Virgin was probably one of the only airlines where they did pretty much speak to you on equal terms. In fact, they were glad to speak to you on equal terms without putting on any airs and graces. And I mean, I know Simon's had a fair few laughs with our upper-class passengers, including famous ones. But they did, I must admit, they treated us a bit different, I think, than they would have done to other airlines. So I think it wasn't necessarily the career I was in. I think it was also the actual company that I joined as well.
Mm.
Well, the fact that Richard Branson used to actually walk around the flight centre and not put himself up there and distance himself from obviously us as crew, and so did like the likes of Matt Lee and Steve Ridgway. They were always very like kind of they had a physical presence. They were around there, and you felt as if you could kind of like actually, they would say hello to you for starters, you know what I mean, and engage in conversation. So they were very approachable. So like you had all the top managers, everyone was like kind of like as one, very much a family. I used to attend meetings representing cabin crew with Steve Ridgway, and Richard Branson would be on there and would have discussions about morale. And I never felt as if I couldn't speak up and actually say what was on my mind. You were always encouraged if you had concerns, even though you have some crew going, oh no, everything's perfect, everything's great. I'll be sitting there thinking, well, I'm not going to sit here saying that because I don't feel as if everything is great. So you were encouraged to speak your mind. But like going back to kind of like what you were saying before about yourself, Trev, when you were like, what flying brought you being able to speak in front of people and, you know, like 400 people. It doesn't matter what I'm kind of doing, I'm still nervous before I do anything. I'm not saying there's any anxiety, I'm nervous, but I'm excited nervous. And there's that little thing in my head going, oh God, don't do it, too daunting. But then there's the bigger one saying, go on, you're going to love it, you're going to love this, you know. And so that's what drives me, and it pushes me to do it. I'm like really nervous doing it, but once I'm doing it, I'm kind of like, I'm going with it. Like I said, don't know where it's going. And then afterwards, I feel great. I always feel great after I've done something where I feel as if I've pushed myself and then I've achieved it. But it's not an easy process. I'm super nervous beforehand. And it's just like the adrenaline kind of thing that keeps us doing things like that.
Yeah. So for me, there's a couple of other things going on here. So, you know, with Trev sort of like pushing towards, has this image of kind of where he wants to be, and then deals with the things along the way. Then you've talked about the environment, which I'll come back to that one in a second, actually. So Simon, when you're talking about then, so you can notice that there's nervousness, but you said the thing that wants you to do something is bigger than the nervousness. And I think that's an interesting idea. I remember Tony Robbins talking about that, is that when the desire to do the thing is bigger than the reasons not to do it, people do stuff. And that was a great example of that, what you just gave there.
Because like if when I have had those feelings and not done it, I feel disappointed. I come away feeling like all deflated.
Yeah.
A little bit like, oh God, why didn't I do that? And I hate that feeling. I hate walking away thinking, you idiot, I should have just done it. Blimey.
And that a lot of people say that sorry to quote him again, but Tony Robbins says if there's something that is a can't, then it's a must.
Yeah.
And so I can't do that. I could never do that. And so you guys setting up this group, and you going and doing this, talking in front of hundreds of people, going towards all these different things that you're doing, Simon, and noticing that you have this kind of nervousness, but then there's a bigger reason to do it. But the thing that I think will help people listening to this is that always, when you walk towards a fear and get past it, it feels great, doesn't it? You always feel like, wow, I can't believe I just did that.
It must be like the buzz, you know, when like people like actors in theatre, and like just before they're going on stage, and like they always get them feelings, don't they? Like they're so nervous, they're even like being sick, like in the whatever you call them, the wingways or whatever you call them, that they've been sick, and then they get on stage and they deliver, and then they come away just feeling, oh, euphoric, great. Now, one of my big, I would say, I'm going to say fear is, you guys have probably done it already. I know you have, Paul. I think Trevor has as well. But getting on a stage, probably on your own, and talking to like hundreds of people, like all of those, how can you deal with that? But I would do it. But like I'll be like, if that was to happen, like someone was saying, right, Simon, you're going to be on stage talking to 400 people next week. Oh, wow. I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about it now, but wow, it would be so good.
You would do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I'm excited. It's not even.
So where do those resources come from then? Because you just said there, I'd be goosebumps thinking about that, but you would do it. Where's that resourcefulness come from?
I don't know. I think I've always had it since I was since I can remember. You know what I mean? Just like putting yourself out there and just like, I don't know. I think it might probably come from my parents, because they're very much like that. You know, I think it's just something that's being passed down to me through their behaviour. You know, and I picked up on it. You know, I like it.
Yeah, I was going to say the other way. Say, take Simon's example in speaking in front of a group of a large group of people, which I know can bring certain people to tears, as Simon said, you know, the butterflies. But the way I got over that was talking about the excitement, changing the fear to excitement, acknowledging that. But also, I read an article, and it was a fair few years ago, and I have used it a few times. It's called mental rehearsal. Now, it's when you not reenact, because you haven't actually done it yet, but when you sort of visualize what you're going to do and break it down into sections and imagine each part being absolutely perfect. So, and you go through that in your mind a fair few times. And I understood that ice skaters used to do this before they're sort of, say, going for an Olympic. They would just stay in sort of like a meditated position. Not that I did the meditation, but sort of put themselves in a meditated state and just constantly think about every move they did until it was absolutely perfect. So yeah, mental rehearsal seems to work, along with, this is just for me, but along with the feeling, change that word fear to change it to I'm excited. And you say you've given your brain an order to be excited about it, not feared.
Yeah, well, the vision thing's really interesting. The mental rehearsal is a well documented idea, and so it's great to hear that works for you. And I think it's very, very powerful, because you can trick your body into feeling certain ways by mentally rehearsing. So, you know, with the nervous flyers, I'd often say to them, just, you know, let's go on the flight now, but just do it in your head. And it's a great flight. In fact, all flights are great. And you're smiling, you're looking around, and of course they're going to resist that internally. But and say any fear you're feeling right now is all in your head, because we're not on a flight, we're just thinking about it. And so that rehearsal is very, very powerful. So it was interesting to hear it used in a different way. But up there with fear of flying, fear of public speaking is in the top three for definite.
Yeah.
No, I think so. And again, a fear of, say, someone's touching this, but a fear of trying something new. Procrastination sort of comes into this, you know, but it's getting on with it is probably the best thing anyone can do about any subject when it comes to fear. I mean, I think the fear was initially designed for when we had sort of wild animals and marauding invaders come to the country. They got
Newcastle, yeah.
Newcastle. Well, there you go. So, you know, and again, fear is definitely real. I mean, I think the first thing to do is acknowledge it's real. This is me. Acknowledge it's real, and then decide your strategy of how you're going to overcome it. And the ones that I've mentioned is how I sort of generally try to get over any fear I have.
I always, like, one of my things as well, if somebody else is doing it, then I can do it. Well, I can give it a go anyway. Like, you know, if there's no physical harm going to come to the end of whatever's you're thinking about doing or you're meant to be doing, no physical harm, you're not going to die. You know, you're not going to get punched or stabbed or anything like that. And you've just seen somebody else do it, and I'm like looking, going, well, they've just done it. I can do that. You know what I mean? Give it a go. You know, so that gives me like a bit of a drive to crack on.
That's excellent. I'd categorize that as helpful self-talk. You know,
Yes.
and quite often if you've got a fear or you want to do something, you think, I could never do that. You can borrow it. So you can borrow strategies from people. So little phrases like that can be quite useful, you know, that, you know, you think so people have said to me, I'm never going to love flying. Or just say, it's just not me.
Yeah.
So, well, what does someone who does love flying, what would they be saying to themselves, and how would they walk onto the aircraft that's different to you? So you can borrow behaviors and act as if, fake it till you become it, as the phrase goes, you know. And I think some of the examples you're giving there are brilliant.
I love, if like touching on the flying, I mean, I love everything, like, you know, about the flying experience. I mean, I know a lot of the people like you talk to, Paul, you know, that have so many different fears, but like everything, the whole process about flying, maybe it's not the check-in, but I leave that to the wife because I find that a little bit stressy. You know what I mean? Especially when you've got kids in tow. Love kids. Anyway, that process onwards, especially like, you know, having a few drinks beforehand, walking down the jetway, possibly getting that upgrade, getting on the plane, seeing the crew, smiling, finding your way to the seat, watching people. I love watching people. I like watching their behavior. Very odd, some people can be. And I get satisfaction out of seeing how stressed they can be by, like, you know, oh, bag over there, I'm not sitting there. I watch all of those things. So they're a distraction. I enjoy that. I love watching the crew. I love the smells on board the aircraft, mainly before it's taken off, not so much after. The services, I just get so much entertainment, not just from that little screen in front of me, but everything going around me. That is my source of entertainment as a passenger. As crew, we're that busy anyway, working so hard. Trevor, not so much, but working so hard that I'm just so focused and the time passes by like so fast. But it's everything I love about flying. It's just such an amazing thing.
That's why we went for the name Lovefly, because every other name before it. So the last program I ran was called Flying Without Fear. So it's still got fear in the title, but we're trying to think of something that would be much more broader and just say, you know, it's a gift that this generation's got. You know, aviation's only really been around for about 100 years, but for us, 40, 50 years where it's been open to the masses. So it's an amazing thing. So we were kind of trying to say, it's a bloody miracle, this thing, you know, it's just magic. So we need to make the most of it. So I totally get that, Simon. It's that love of it.
And planes are beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. The aircraft nowadays, the livery and the graphics and the artwork on planes, and, you know, they're just such beautiful environments to be in, and like in the cabin itself as well. They've done amazing things since our journeys in the 90s. You know, you'd get on Virgin Gin and we thought they were great then, but when you look at how the cabins were then compared to now, you've got the mood lighting and all of this, like, you know, mystique and it's a beautiful, like what it is now compared to then. It's
a lot of people don't realize that, you know, how great these environments are. I was thinking, you know, stepping onto the Virgin Dreamliners as an example a couple of years ago and thinking, wow, you know, just the lighting, the way it feels, this feeling of space, you know, people not knowing the fact that the air has changed every couple of minutes, just these little things that it just makes it such a comfortable experience. But a lot of people have other images in their head. So I think you're absolutely right. It has really moved on. Here's a random question.
Go on then.
Have you ever had any fear or anxiety linked to flying whatsoever?
Absolutely not, Paul. Again, I mean, technically, in our minds, humans aren't designed to fly, so it should be fearful. But it's really not. It's an absolutely amazing experience. And, you know, to your sort of friends who have got a fear of flying, crew wouldn't get on an aircraft if they didn't think it was safe. And the reason they know it's safe is because they know how well their colleagues from all departments do their checks, whether it be from engineering to the captain to the crew. Everyone in our chain cares about each other, and so our safety and security checks are second to none, really. So that's what I've never ever been.
But nothing
fearful.
for you at all. Yeah. Okay, Simon.
The only fear I used to have was the briefing question, getting it wrong and not being able to fly. That was my only fear, turning up, sitting in that briefing room and thinking, please don't get this question wrong. Please don't. I really want to go to San Francisco, really want to go to Vegas. And then that was my only fear. Once I got the question right, these things went off in my head and I was like, yeah. So
for a lot of people won't realize that when cabin crew fly, you go into a briefing at the beginning of the flight. You get asked a bunch of security or aviation medicine questions, and you have to get them right. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're not flying. And so this is the moment that a lot of crew have terror around, and also all the retraining that you get every year around safety. That's another moment of panic for a lot of crew. But a lot of traveling public won't necessarily see all of that goes on. So that's interesting. That's the only thing where you get nervous. I've been a bit nervous on a go around because I didn't know it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first time I was there. So I've been for all the training, but I didn't really know what it meant, you know. So we're coming into land, then all of a sudden, whoosh, off you go again. And I remember thinking, oh crikey, what was all that about? And then very quickly remembered the training and thought, oh no, I was just a go around. And coming in a couple of times, it's been windy, but the thing that's always kept me going is the fact that, as we all know, that there's strict limits that the aircraft can take off, land in, etc. The pilots are phenomenal. The amount of training and retraining they go through. So it gives you that kind of surety, doesn't it? So you can fly and just think, well, I know it's as safe as anything. It's the safest thing. You know, it's safer than my journey to the airport.
And also remember, as well as crew, I just like a thought came into my head, like especially JFK in the winter. As crew, we're sitting by our doors, looking out the windows, especially over the wings, because like obviously you can get to minus God knows what, like over in like JFK, New York, and all that when you're taking off from there, and when the de-ice in the wings. But as crew, we are so vigilant, even on taxi. When the pilot's pushing back, we're watching all the time. We're looking inside the cabin. We're picking up on smells. We're looking outside for outside conditions. Crew are so well trained in everything that there's really nothing. If anything's not right, crew will pick up on it. Absolutely.
Brilliant. So thank you ever so much, guys. I just thought I'd ask a crystal ball question, right? 12 months ago, you couldn't have predicted where you'd be right now. Massive following, all these other avenues you're exploring. Tell me 12 months from now, where do you want to be, or where do you think you'll be?
There's lots of places we want to be, actually, and hopefully they'll all come together. 12 months' time, and I think Simon agree with this, we would, and I know this because we sort of started it already, we will have not just crew correspondents in more than 10 countries. We will have a publishing site, not about us, you'll be glad to know, but of crew where we actually back crew talent. Simon's mentioned the audio book and this single we've got coming out. Also, hopefully, to do written books on successful crew or ex-crew businesses. We also want to be helping people who want to be crew. That's where I'd like to see us in 12 months. But what we've done is try and take any problems we come up against and break them down into smaller segments. So if it can't be achieved this time, we just postpone it until the next sort of business quarter. But yeah, so that's what I think we'll be in 12 months' time.
Simon?
And where I think we will be in 12 months' time, I really expect our finished website, which it will be in 12 months' time, that should be up and running in 3 months' time, full of content, full of business courses, full of an affiliation with job opportunities. So with an agency, recruitment agency, I see that. I see courses to identify how skillful and how transferable skills can be incorporated in other areas. So all this singing and dancing website will be fully available with so much content. It's going to be ridiculous. I also see us as well, hopefully in a year's time, when everything's picked up, which I'm sure it will be, I'm quite confident of that in a year's time, to be going to these airlines on training courses where we are incorporated as Not Just Crew to deliver a presentation to the cabin crew future generation of what they expect. I'm sure the airlines have this in mind anyway, but what they expect on their journey, be cabin crew, what to expect when they are flying, what skills they're going to obtain, how amazing these skills are, not just in flying, but in a personal kind of aspect in the family life. Just, it's going to give them such a positive kind of like advantage, and it just opens the mind, because they're going to be flying all around the world. Equality, diversity, they're going to pick up so many skills, so many cultures, and I want them to be fully aware of what the journey that they're going to undergo.
Amazing.
And I want to be clear.
You two guys, you two guys. I mean, it's amazing what you've achieved. It's very inspiring to listen to you. I think a lot of people would be very grateful for the help that you've given. And I recognise that. I like to help my community, but the help that you're doing is just phenomenal. So keep doing what you're doing. It's just excellent, excellent, excellent. I don't think people realise how much passion there is behind it, but they're clearly picking up some of it because they're trusting you to subscribe, join what you do, and turn up, listen to what you have to say every week. That's no small thing for people's time, but also for you guys. So thank you ever so much. So thanks ever so much to the Not Just Crew guys, Trevor Jenkins and Simon Costello, the legend. It says that on his Zoom call here, but absolutely brilliant, and really appreciate your time today. So thank you.
Thank you.
And please come and join us on the show again. You presented for us a few times now, and your talks are always full of inspiration as well. Exactly.
And just on a final note, just for your Lovefly family, just to let you know that Paul has so much help, and like he offers so much help to Not Just Crew, and it's invaluable. And all of our 10,000 members appreciate all you offer us, and the knowledge and wisdom like you deliver is priceless. Thank you.
Wow, shucks, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul. Well, what do you think? Very interesting. I certainly learned a few things about myself there. Also, I learned a few things about Simon that I actually never realised. Very interesting. Paul, as always, the absolute professional, hence why he's a presenter here at Not Just Crew. So coming up, we've got some podcasts coming out later in the month. We are literally going to be on location. If you are in the sort of Crawley, Sussex area, the 19th, 20th and the 21st, we're filming about 4, possibly 5 podcasts on location, which is great for us. We've been dying to get out and do some filming, because this is what it is really, really about, to see crew who do other things in their own environment. So yeah, join us next Monday, and Simon's Saturday summary again on, you've guessed it, Saturday. Take care.
Well, oh, there's my aeroplane.